Hey everyone, I'm Jay and I do stuff. Okay, so remember when I posted my origin story with my Porygon? There I announced I would be doing gameplay videos for the upcoming Pokemon Sword and Shield games. Maybe. Well, turns out I was right about the maybe part, because at Nintendo's latest E3 presentation, they were playing through Sword and Shield during one of their Treehouse events. There, they were talking to a couple of the developers, namely Junichi Masuda. At one point, he said the following.
And so what that means for Pokemon Sword and Shield is that players will be able to transfer their Pokemon from Pokemon Home only if they appear in the Galar region Pokedex.
From what I can tell, this means that not all the Pokemon will be in these new games. Not like other games where you could only catch some of the Pokemon within the game, but you could still transfer the others through various methods. No, apparently not all the Pokemon will even be coded into the games. You can't transfer something that isn't there after all. You can only transfer Pokemon into Sword and Shield if they appear within the games themselves. So at that rate, what's the point in even transferring if they're already there? A few days after, Masuda was interviewed by the Japanese magazine Famitsu. There, he clarified some of the reasoning behind their decision. Basically, he stated that was because, 1, it's the sheer amount of Pokemon already in existence, 2, they wanted to work on more animations for the Pokemon themselves, and 3, they wanted to balance the competitive meta. Now, forgive me if I get anything wrong, I'm just going off of what I've heard. We're coming up on 1,000 Pokemon now, so I'd imagine it gets harder and harder to maintain them every generation. Except for the fact that they have higher poly models for every Pokemon up to this point, so they basically future-proof themselves. As more Pokemon are made, technology keeps getting more advanced and assumingly everything has more memory for these sorts of things. Or at least that's what I figure. Then again, what do I know about technology and memory limitations? Ha! And even if they have all these models to work with, you could still argue that they're working too much on tweaking the animations as to why they aren't including every mon. But judging by the E3 footage provided, I'm not seeing it. It could just be the demo, but I kinda doubt it'll improve. Now, with the meta, I don't quite understand. In past generations, weren't tournaments and rank battles only for Pokemon found in said game's regional decks? If so, why not just ban outsider mons? I mean, isn't it enough that they're canning Mega Evolutions and Z-moves? Must they take away our beloved mons as well? So naturally, people are upset by this. Rightfully so. They're taking away something that made Pokemon Pokemon. Being able to venture out with your favorite mons and building an entire team out of them. The slogan is "Gotta catch 'em all" after all, which I know is more of an American thing, but I don't feel that should be completely irrelevant since it was what most people grew up hearing. You can still catch all the Pokemon in each game depending on how many mons were introduced at the time of each game's release. But with Sword and Shield, you won't be able to obtain all the Pokemon up to this moment in these games. It's enough to drive people with OCD up the wall. But more importantly, it's because that not everyone will be able to play with their favorite Pokemon. Some have argued that not every Pokemon is liked or even relevant, and that people should just suck it up and just use the new mons presented. This I find very narrow-minded and selfish. Like I said, we're coming up to 1,000 Pokemon, and there are about 12 dozen skrillion and more people on this planet. Every Pokemon is someone's favorite, so I feel that this mentality is unfair to them. Plus, games are all about making choices. One of the choiciest being Pokemon. So not having everyone available kinda limits your options more than past games, I feel. What's worse is that this is apparently a new policy for Game Freak. That being, from these games forward, not all Pokemon will be available in the code of the games, regardless if they update their models, animations, etc. So is there any hope for us fans in fear of our favorite Pokemon getting the axe? Well, maybe. And that's a big maybe. Especially on Twitter, people have started using the hashtag bringbacknationaldex. They've been spamming this hashtag non-stop. It's almost kind of annoying in a way. But you know what? I understand them. They are very passionate about having their favorite mons in the latest installment, and they want to make that clear to Game Freak. It's good to let them know what you want out of their product. Just remember to be respectful and mature about it. So don't go boycotting Game Freak or the Pokemon Company. I don't think using the hashtag method is that offensive. Then again, I'm not really super adept in the whole hashtag thing. Am I old? But with all this fan outcry, I really don't think Game Freak can ignore all this for long. But what could they do about it though? They can't delay the games because remember, Pokemon is a multimedia business. So alongside the games, they also have the card game, toys, and even the anime scheduled for release. So that's out of the question. The last thing I can think of is just to patch the other mons in after release. Though, even this is unlikely because Masuda's gone on record to say that Pokemon normally doesn't do additional content patches and that they want to keep the games as a whole single experience. They're about as stubborn as a... What's the Pokemon equivalent to a mule? Mudbray? Mudbray. Game Freak really needs to get with the times, I feel. Even first-party Nintendo games are starting to go with the free update route with Breath of the Wild and Odyssey. And almost everyone has an internet connection nowadays, so that shouldn't be a problem either. Game Freak has been doing patches to games since X and Y, fixing various bugs and glitches, so it's not like they can't patch their games. But the one thing we can do to try to change their decision is to simply not buy the games. If anything, it'll hopefully tell Game Freak that we don't want this kind of content, or rather lack thereof. I'm trying to stay optimistic about them adding the rest of the Pokemon back into the games, but deep in my gut I know it's kinda unlikely. I don't know about you, but if my Porygon isn't in these games, I'm not buying them. That may sound petty, but that's just how I am. You can't tell people how they should enjoy something anyways. And that would really suck because there's a lot in Sword and Shield that looks really cool. Like the wild area, max raid battles, and even the new Dynamaxing feature looks neat for what it is. I'm sure the core experience of these games will be great, but without all the Pokemon, it just feels incomplete to me. All we can do now is to wait and try to keep voicing ourselves and hope that Game Freak will do something. If Porygon isn't in these games, I might have to do a playthrough of my own custom Pokemon Pink version hack. I never go anywhere without my precious Porygon. But what do you think? Will you still pick up Pokemon Sword and Shield? Or will you not in protest? Regardless of what happens, I'll see you next time.